Hi everybody, and welcome to another edition of Busy Babies Home Edition. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make sensory bags and how to dye beans or rice or noodles for sensory bins. So we're going to start with sensory bags. So a sensory bag is a squishy bag. This one has sequins in it. I also have another one here that has some foam stickers in it and some sequins. And you'll notice that they're both taped with duct tape, and I'm going to show you how we make them. So really all you need to make these is a plastic bag, some hair gel, and some sort of item to put inside your bag. And very, very, very important, you need duct tape. It can be any kind of duct tape, but it really needs to be a sturdy tape because babies will most likely put these in their mouths and other tapes will disintegrate when they're wet. So this is the simplest thing that you can make. You're gonna open the hair gel all the way. For a gallon size bag, I can't get it open. For a gallon size bag, it takes about a bottle and a half of hair gel, but I have made ones that have less in them, like this one here. This has a little bit less gel in it, so there's a little bit more room for squishing, and so we're just going to use one. Now you can buy this type of hair gel really anywhere, Dollar Tree, Walmart, things like that. I'm pretty sure you can get it on Amazon too. You are really looking for the cheap 1980s hair gel, and these are only cost $1, and you're just going to squirt it in your bag. If you can get the lid all the way off, which I couldn't, then it comes out a little bit easier. So we have our hair gel in there. Now I'm actually adding in some erasers that we had lying around the library. These are like the kind of erasers that you could buy at like a book fair or, again, Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree is your friend. And you're just going to throw them in there. You can also add in more sequins if you want. Really anything you have around your house that would be interesting for your kids. It's very important that you try to smooth it out as best you can to avoid too many air bubbles. But be careful when you're doing this because you don't want the gel to come out. And then we close it. And now we're going to add the duct tape. You want to tape all of the sides with duct tape. And I usually go a little bit over the edge here so that you can tuck in and back. And you want to make sure you tape all the sides. This will also help too because the edges can come apart and we don't want that to happen. So putting the duct tape will prevent that from happening. You can play with these. They're very easy to clean. You can just wipe them down with a baby wipe or some sort of Clorox wipe or whatever you've got around the house. And you can keep them. We usually keep them around the library until they pop. When they start leaking, we just throw them out because we don't want to have them leaking everywhere. If you don't have little toys and things to put in these, you can add a little food coloring and change the color. You can actually age this up really easily because you can draw letters in them. So you could put a letter under on a card in front of your preschooler and ask them to draw a letter in there, and so they can be practicing their alphabet while they're home. So that is basically how you make a sensory bin. If you do not have hair gel and are worried that you will not be able to find any hair gel, you can make these with water. They are not as reusable when you do them with water because they very easily pop. So just be aware that that might pop. So maybe you want to use smaller bags and not risk having the water all over your house. But there you go. That is how you make a sensory bag. So now that we finished that, I'm going to show you how to dye your beans, rice, and noodles. So I get asked this question a lot at the library because I do a lot of dyeing with the beans for sensory bins. So in case you're not sure what a sensory bin is, and it's basically any sort of manipulative that's hidden, buried treasure, we call it. So we typically use dried beans, rice, noodles, things like that. Things you might already have in your pantry. I'm actually going to use white beans today, which dye really, really well. But you can use anything. You can hide anything in there too. You can hide Legos, you can hide toys. If you're really in a pinch, you can make a sensory bin out of Cheerios or Fruit Loops, and you know, your babies are gonna eat them. It's fine, it doesn't matter because they're edible anyway. I would not recommend reusing these too much unless you're making sure that only your kid is using them. We throw them away at the library after we're done with them because they do have a lot of hands in them, and we want to make sure we're protecting and keeping the kids safe. So I have white beans. I need another plastic bag. You can use any size Ziploc baggie. I'm going to use a gallon. And you're going to pour your beans in. And I'm just going to put in that much. You can make a bunch of different colors and kind of create a rainbow bin. I've done that before, which is really fun. The next ingredient you need is rubbing alcohol. It doesn't take a lot of rubbing alcohol, but you do need that on your beans to keep the food colorings to stick. So we're just gonna squirt a little bit in there. We're gonna close the bag, and I like to squish them around a little bit and make sure they're really coated. You might not be able to see this on camera, but you can see like a glimmer of where the alcohol is. Then you're gonna open your bag back up, and you can pick any color food coloring you want. I'm doing green today. And depending on how dark you want them to be, you'll put a few drops in, and you want to make sure that you're spreading those drops out so that you can cover a little bit easier. If you're trying to do color mixing to make things like purple or orange or green, if you don't have green, it does take a little bit more concentration on the color because you'll have some beans that will be super orange and some that'll be still kind of yellow, things like that. So you just have to try to get it as even as possible. Then you're just going to roll them out like this until you see the beans covered, and as you can see, they're turning green now. And we just want to make sure they're all covered. All right. Now, these are wet, so they need to dry before you can actually use them, or the food coloring will come off of them. So I've just grabbed a little pie pan here with some wax paper on top of it. You can use a cookie sheet or really any flat surface. I always put a wax paper or foil down so that we don't ruin our pans. And we're just going to pour them in. And you want to sort of try to spread them out a little bit so they can dry. And you can see it's already coming off of my fingers, which is why we want them to dry. And you'll see that there are some beans that are a little bit darker than others, but it doesn't really matter because the kids aren't paying attention to that. They just want to play. For the beans, it takes maybe a couple hours to dry. The noodles I usually leave overnight, and rice can take a really long time just because it's more, it absorbs more of the liquid. So just keep that in mind when you're going to make these. If you've got the beans, they will be your fastest route. And then you'll just add these to any sort of bin to dig through. I just give them spoons. You can use recycled yogurt cups or fruit cups and let them dig through. You can hide buried treasure and have them look for it, or just let them dig through bins, and never underestimate how long they'll sit there and dig through bins. For easy cleanup, because I know that can always be a concern at your house, you could put down a sheet under whatever surface you're letting them play on, or just let them play on the floor and put down a sheet and let them sit on the sheet. Anything that goes on the floor, I would definitely recommend throwing away because, again, these things go in babies' mouths. So there you have it. That is how you make a sensory bin, dyed beans, and how you make a sensory bag. Thanks for watching another edition of Busy Babies Home Edition. I'm Miss April. Thanks for joining me. Bye.